It is my profound honor to welcome Les Brown to the Gathering Spot stage. Good to see you.
Thank you. Hello, how y'all doing? Fantastic.
So it's an honor to have you here, sincerely.
Thank you.
I have a lot of things that I want to ask you about. The first and probably most important question that I have, though, is how are you doing?
I'm cancer-free, debt-free, and drama-free.
Amen. Your career, right? There are a lot of people, I think, in this day and age, and I want to, this is foreshadowing something I want to get into. Mm-hmm. You do something, though, that a lot of people wish or hope that they could do. So I want to talk about how you got there, right? Because we all come from somewhere, come from something. Where's home? Where are you from? Give us the origin story.
I was conceived in Gainesville, Georgia, but I was born in Miami, Florida. My birth mother, I just discovered, here I am, 78, and I just discovered, if people go online and see the Les Brown surprise, 2021 surprise, that my birth mother and father, they were from Gainesville, Georgia. So when she became pregnant, she decided, because Gainesville is such a small town, to come down to Miami and to give birth to me and my twin brother. We became foster kids. She gave us to Mrs. Mamie Brown. Whenever I speak, I always say, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother, that God took me out of my biological mother's womb and put me in the heart of my adopted mother. And so that's how I ended up in Liberty City. We were born in an abandoned building on a floor. Jackson Memorial Hospital at that time in Miami did not receive black kids or black people. And so we ended up, they were driving around and she started having labor pains, the rumor goes, and they saw this abandoned building and went in and gave birth to us.
Growing up, I wanted to be an attorney. What did you aspire to be growing up?
I wanted I had a compelling urge to want to take care of my mother, because Mama adopted my twin brother and I, and she never had any children herself, and she adopted 5 other kids. So we were first foster children, and then we became adopted. And I decided very young, seeing how hard she worked as a single mother, I said, I'm going to take care of you, Mama, when you get older. And when I become a man, I'm going to buy your home, and you'll never, ever pay another bill, because I believe that I'm old school. And I asked her, when will I be a man? She said, when you turn 18. I said, when I turn 18, you'll never pay another bill. And my mother, the way she raised us, my brothers and I, she said, if your wife has a job and a husband too, one of them's got to go. So I said, you won't have to worry about that anymore. I got you.
Where does that confidence come from? I imagine from her, right? But
yes. Well, I learned from my mother. She was so relentless and unstoppable. She went through a whole lot. She only had a 3rd grade education, but she was a person that when she made up her mind to do something, she made it happen. She promised our birth mother, Dorothy Bell Rucker, who's from Gainesville, Georgia, and a motivational speaker and an educator, and my grandmother, Beulah Rucker. They have the Beulah Rucker Museum in Gainesville. She was a motivational speaker and teacher and educator. She spoke with Mary McLeod Bethune and knew Eleanor Roosevelt. And so she promised her that, hey, these boys will never go to bed hungry. They will always have clothes on their back and a roof over their head. And she kept her word. And one of the things that I believe as we look at ourselves, look at our goals and dreams, we must honor ourselves with our words, and that because words have power. And she had a lot of choices of giving us to just anybody, but she didn't. She waited for the right person. And they said that when the two of them met, Dorothy Bell Rucker and Mamie Brown, Mr. Moss, my godfather, said, she looked her in the eyes and she got real close, their nose already about to touch. And she asked, are you going to take care of my boys? And she said, yes, ma'am, I've never had any children before. She said, you promise never to allow anybody to separate them. She said, yes, ma'am. And then the two of them stood there and looked at each other. And it was very silent. And Mr. Moss said that my birth mother at that time, with tears in her eyes, said, this is the one. I want her to take my boys. And so at that moment, she gave us to Mamie Brown. And when Mama started walking out with us, Mr. Moss said, my birth mother followed close behind. And Mr. Moss opened the door and she got in the car. And then my birth mother came close to the window, said, you swear you will take care of them? And she said, I swear. And she kissed us that one last time. And she said, as she hit the side of the car, go, Mr. Moss, go now. And he said he drove off slowly. And Mama, she leaned back and she looked at us and started rocking. And she just said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
It's a powerful story. When did you first come to learn this story? Because it's incredibly powerful, but...
Last year. That's why I've said, I mean, this, you can't make this kind of stuff up. And listen to this. 7 is my lucky number. I just found out that my birth father, Oliver Randolph, he was born June 7th.
Wow.
My favorite color is red. My birth mother's favorite color is red. She has a red house. Okay. And so there are things that I met 2 brothers that I had no idea that I had, Rudy and George. And they say to me constantly, when we see you speak, we were raised by our mother. You never saw her. But your mannerisms and how you speak, we carried her bags and we watched her. We don't do what you do. And we don't understand, how is it possible? And what it is confirmation that all of us have greatness in us. But you have to be willing to put in the effort and the time and invest in yourself to develop your greatness. Otherwise, you will rob the cemetery of your genius if you work on it. But if you don't, then you're going to enrich the cemetery. Dr. Miles Monroe, who was one of my mentees, he constantly said, live full and die empty. And that's what I do. I want to say this before your next question. I told you I was very upset with your mission statement.
You did.
Because it is so profound. And I said, I wish I had written that. And I don't think I can write anything better. I said, I'm mad at them. Because when you think about where we are and what we are facing now, Dr. Carter G. Woodson said, if you can determine what a man shall think, you never have to concern yourself with what he will do. He said, if you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, you never have to order him to go to the back door. He'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. And so my goal and objective is to help us to eradicate the virus of HIV, hood-infected virus. AIDS, addiction to incarceration, and death syndrome. And the way to do that is, one, helping us to get a larger vision of ourselves beyond our indoctrination, our mental conditioning, upgrade our skill set and our knowledge, and create a community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. That's crucial. The gathering spot concept, you earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. The Academy Award winner Sidney Poitier said that when you go for a walk with someone, something happens without being spoken. Either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to your pace. Whose pace have you adjusted to? And so part of what I train is practicing the principle of OQP, only quality people. If you want to make it today in this environment that the late Peter Drucker called the 3 C's: accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition, it's very important that you create gathering spots of greatness, of people coming together, willing to help each other, to upgrade and elevate our thinking, our skill set, and our knowledge so that we can navigate this new place. We're in this place where Einstein said, the thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve.
Two-parter here. What do you think is the main thing that is holding us back? And I want to look at it from the vantage point of us as individuals, but just also us as a community. What's stopping us from getting there, wherever there is?
Our mental conditioning. When I was in the 5th grade, there are things that happen to us that we feel at the time they happen, but really in reality, they happen for us. Like when I was in the 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. And I feel again in the 8th grade at Booker T. Washington High School. I have no college training. But I had this high school teacher, Mr. Washington, who told me, he said, Mr. Brown, he said, young man, I want you to go to a board and work this problem out for me. I said, sir, I can't do that. I said, why? I'm here just looking for my friend MacArthur Stevens. He said, do what I'm asking you to do anyhow. I said, I can't, sir. And he said, why not? I'm not one of your students. I told you I'm not one of your students. And so the other kids started laughing, saying, he's Leslie, he's DT. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley's smart. And he asked, what's DT? He's the dumb twin. And they started laughing. And he looked at me, and I said, I am, sir. And he came from behind his desk, and in the spirit of Ryan, he said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you hear me? And I said, yes, sir. At this stage of my life, at 78, I don't know how much time I have left, but I'm doing something that T.D. Jakes said. There's no success without successors. So I'm teaching people who have a hunger and willing to invest in themselves and put in the time and effort to become effective communicators. Steve Jobs said the storyteller is the most powerful person in the world. What he did when he spoke to me, Mama said, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. That's not true. Words can hurt you, and very deeply. But what he did, and I have a young man with me named Claudio from Brazil that's here with me. He distracted me. How we live our lives is a result of the story we believe about ourselves. So the gathering spot, what you do when you bring people together around your mission statement, you distract, dispute, and inspire that people who come in here, what they should say to each other before they come in is goodbye. Because if they embrace the philosophy of why you brought this place together, they will leave the person they are at that time outside. My favorite book says, if a man is to gain his life, he must lose his life. And so in order for us to achieve the things that we want to achieve, we've got to be willing to make a radical change within ourselves in order to become the kind of person that can achieve the goals that we envision for ourselves, because you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. So as you look at yourself and your goals and your dreams, engaging in a process that will transform you and allow you to step outside of your abuse or your circumstances or the adversities that you face and be able to become, as Mother Teresa would say, a pencil in the hand of God and start writing a new chapter with your life.
I hope that y'all are taking notes, because Lord knows I wish I had a notepad up here. For folks that are here and watch this conversation that say, absolutely, I agree, I want better, I know I deserve better, but I've been in this position that I'm in here for a little while. How do I start this process? I see the vision on where I could be, but I'm here right now. What say you? What happens tomorrow? What's a practical thing that folks can do when they get up?
Is don't do what you just did. When you and your friend got together and you had a vision of manifesting this, you had no one to go and talk to and ask, how do we do it? This place, this concept did not exist. Our favorite book says, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. So you have to just make the commitment. Nothing happens until you make the commitment. Nothing works until you work. You put in the work for this to take place. And let's use work as an acronym. W, the willingness to do what's required. The willingness to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. The O stands for ownership mindset. You created a place, a space. Space is very important because God made a space for us before he made us. He didn't just make us and had us dangling in the air. We need a space that we can come to that allow us to create a community so that we can begin to take each other to a place in ourselves that we can't go by ourselves. That's what Mr. Washington did for me on that particular day. The R stands for reinvent yourself. That thinking that got you here won't serve us in this new environment. We're in this place where Peter Drucker said that we must be willing to unlearn, learn, and relearn so that we can navigate where we are right now. And the K stands for kindred spirits, that when you are around people that's going in the direction of where you are going, that what it does is it challenges you. It creates a synergy. It allows you to do things that you could not do by yourself because of the relationships that you're around that hold you accountable to a higher standard. I met a young man named Mike Williams, and I wish all of you write this down. He wrote a book called The Road to Your Best Stuff. And you look so much like the young Mike Williams. And he was my newsman. I was disc jockey at WVKO radio station in Columbus, Ohio. He saw this Les Brown before I saw this Les Brown. He was my newsman. He said, Brownie. I said, yeah. He said, man, you can do more than be a disc jockey. It's very important for you to have someone, and this is the value of the gathering spot, a positive connection that will believe in you until your belief kicks in. And I said, come on, Mike. I couldn't imagine what he told me I could do. He said, man, you can change people's lives around the world. I said, are you kidding me? At that time, I was LB Triple P, Les Brown, your platter plant popper. There were none before me, and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single and love to mingle, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction, a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. And so he saw this dude, and I'm thinking,
I would have seen him too.
I'm a disc jockey, man. And I said, what do you think I can do other than this? I thought, have you ever had somebody see something in you that you didn't see in yourself? Yeah. And he said, Les, I see you going to these seminars and these workshops. He said, I hear you quoting Malcolm and Dr. King all the time. He said, what's in them, it's also in you. I was Les Brown, the man about town at that particular time. And I said, what you talk about, Willis? But he worked with me. We're still together to this day. And he helped me to begin to see what he saw. And it was a process.
When did you see it for yourself?
It was an ongoing process, but I think that the deciding moment was when I spoke in the Georgia Dome. There's a video that's on the internet. Millions of people have viewed it, called It's Not Over Till You Win. And the guy that invited me, Dexter Yeager, he did not like me at all. He'd never had a black person on his stage as a motivational speaker. He had a choice of Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. And he asked me, do you know why I asked you to come? I said, why? He said, because I need someone who can command this audience. I said, oh. And he said, I don't like you. And I didn't ask him why. I had to remember why I was there. And I just kept thinking, if he's chosen me to do this, I'm not interested in getting into an argument with this dude, okay? Mike Williams said, Brownie, keep the main thing the main thing. So he said, I don't like niggers. And as I was sitting there, Liberty City was about to come out. And I remember something that Mike told me. He said, anger is a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. I decided not to get angry. And I didn't answer and I didn't respond. And I know he wanted a response from me. He said, but there's something about you. You speak from your heart. And I need someone to command this audience. And you don't speak from your head, you speak from your heart. And you've come from some hard times. And you are the one to do this job today. I said, thank you very much. And I was frightened. I thought they brought me there to speak to 500 people in a dining room area. And the guy said to me, you Les Brown? I said, yes. Man, what is it like to speak to 80,000 people? I said, I don't know. You don't know? I said, no. He said, come here a minute. So he took me, he said, look out there. You see those people there? I said, yes. He said, that's who you're speaking to. I said, to them? He said, yes, all white audience. I took off and started running down the hall. He said, where are you going? I said, to the bathroom, but it's number 1. So they called Mike and said, Les is in the bathroom and he won't come out, because I couldn't hear the voices in my head. And he said, Brownie, you're scared, aren't you? I said, yes. Brownie, can you hear me? I said, yes. I said, Mike, it's 80,000 people. I've never spoke to an audience that large before. He said, so what? They came to hear you. You didn't come to hear them. I said, Mike, oh my goodness, I can't hear the voices. He said, Brownie, just remember these words: distract, dispute, and inspire. He said, do it for your mother. I said, man, don't use my mama against me. He said, you always said you wanted to buy her home. If you make this happen, man, this will be a big deal. People around the world will see this, and it will be a deciding point in your speaking career. Do it for your mother. She's going to tell the neighbors about it. She's going to say, that's my boy. I'm so glad that I adopted them. And I said, okay. I came out and started walking toward the stage. And when I went up the steps, he looked at me and he said, you got this. And I said, you believe in me, Mike? He said, yeah. You can do this. I said, thank you, man. Because I never had a father. He's just 2 years older than me. But he's like a father said to his son, you can do this. And I felt it in my heart. And I took that microphone and I went out there and I wore him out.
I absolutely feel the need to applaud, because if y'all haven't, if y'all haven't seen the actual speech that we're talking about, please, tonight, go do that. Because it's an iconic, legendary, to know that was going on in the background, and for you to step on stage and to deliver in that way. Many of us are facing, in our own way in our life, that moment, right? We're backstage. Some of us have someone that's cheering us on some of the time. Many times we don't. What advice do you have for people, for me, all of us that have that moment on a regular basis, right? And are trying to figure out, we heard how you were able to overcome it in that circumstance. I'm sure you've had to do it many other times. What advice do you have for folks that feel that they know exactly what you're talking about? It wasn't that situation, right? But it's something that feels like it in their life right now, and they don't know how to go out there and walk and go see 80,000 people.
I'm glad you asked me that question. I decided that as a result of my talking to Mike, and he asked me, who do you want to speak to? And at that time, I had a limited vision of myself. I said, I want to speak to the Urban League and the NAACP, and all of a sudden, the phone went dead. So I called him back. I said, Mike, we lost the signal. He said, we didn't lose the signal. I said, what happened? He said, I hung up on you. I said, why in the hell would you hang up on me? He said, I don't want to work with somebody who has a limited vision of themselves. I want to work with somebody who wants to speak to the world. And he hung up again. So I called him back. I said, Mike, that's me. Can you help me? And one of the things I believe, ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. And a lot of people won't ask for help because of pride. Pride cometh before a fall. Because of ego. Ego means edging God out. And so he asked me, are you coachable? I said, yes. He asked me, are you willing to put your money where your mouth is? I said, yes. And I was willing to invest in myself. And when Warren Buffett, I studied the lives of successful people. Warren Buffett, when he graduated from college, the first thing he did, he took a communications course. Mr. Washington said to me, you want to make it? Develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And so I saw the value of investing in myself, and I saw him speak. And I'm encouraging those of you who want to speak, find someone that you admire that's doing it on the level that you want to do it on, because you want to learn from someone who's been there, done it, that can shorten your learning curve. And so I loved how he used quotes, humor, and statistics. And I said, man, can you teach me to do it like you do it? And he said, if I'm a good coach, you'll be better than me. I said, Mike, I'll never be better than you. He said, yes, you will. And he was right, ultimately, because he said, when I give you what I got plus what you got, you're going to go further than I have. And so when we look at ourselves, what's very important that we discipline ourselves to take control of our minds. We're living in the distraction economy. There are all kinds of things that can distract us now. Artificial intelligence, Chat GPT. And so Chat GPT, to me, when you think about that, just that acronym, G stands for growth mindset. That the gathering spot is about expanding your mindset. Robert Schuller said, you either expand or you are expendable. The P stands for passion. Do what's in your heart. We've been conditioned and trained and indoctrinated to look for a job. Follow what's in your heart. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. Live a life that will outlive you. And the T stands for tenacity. Whatever you're going after, you're going to get some pushback. You're going to have some failures and disappointments. And Willie Jolly, a young man that I trained, he had a book called A Setback is a Setup for a Comeback. I've got a saying, if life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you could look up, you can get up. And so we're now in this space where it's the greatest, incredible time for us to do some incredible things. And what you have done, you and your partners, is so very important. Unless things change, unless people can get this concept, between now and 30 years from now, it will take 280 years for us to develop economic equity. It will take Latinos 70 years. A white high school dropout, according to the Federal Reserve out of Milwaukee, will create 3 times more wealth than a black college graduate. My new book is called You Gotta Be Hungry. They said that my birth mother, my grandmother, she was hungry to learn. And she taught herself how to read from the newspaper that was used on the walls in Gainesville to keep them warm from the winter. They were sharecroppers. And so as we look at ourselves and look out at our goals and dreams, this is the time. We have all the tools that we need and some. People talk about, we're going through some tough times. And I like what Shakespeare said. It says, nothing is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. When you think about what Weldon Johnson said, stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We've come over a way that with tears have been watered. We've come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. We are the descendants of the ones that would not die. Every time I open up my presentations, I say, you've got greatness in you. And that you now have created a community where people can come, put in the time, the efforts, build a community of greatness that will allow them to turn adversity to their advantage.
I appreciate that. And truly, this thing it's us, right? It's never really been about, we started this thing in my apartment, but it's collectively been a we thing. I want to talk about the craft, right? There are a lot of folks that are trying to do, and it's embarrassing, right? Because they can't do you. You are.
They don't have to do me. All they have to do is do them.
They're not doing them very well in this. For folks that are interested in like the precision of the craft, right? Of speaking well. What advice do you have for folks that want to take that journey? You've mentioned that you're mentoring a couple of folks, but what does it take to be good at being good?
First of all, we don't have the luxury of being good. We have to be great in whatever we do. So what Mike was saying, Brownie, I don't want to prepare you to to be a black speaker, I don't want you to pigeonhole yourself. I want to train you how to speak to the world. This is how I train people. And what's very important is to get coaching from someone who has done what it is you want to do and overcome the odds. One of the things about any industry is that I looked and I started watching all the speakers that were out there, and I was looking for what is it that I can bring, and you and your team did that, that's going to be different, that's going to be unique, that's going to operate out of the thinking of Henry David Thoreau, who said, do not go where the path may lead, go where there's no path and leave a trail. You wanted to have something that will stand out and be unique. And so what I noticed that all of these light expression people were giving speeches, giving information from the book, Think and Grow Rich. Well, if information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. What made me stand out, I gave a speech about wanting to take care of my mother, a heart-centered speech, and shared with them the methods and the techniques, the setbacks, the failures, and the victories that I had to overcome within myself and outside of myself to be able to get on stage with people who had PhDs and MBAs that I did not have and be so impactful. And this is the kind of economy that we have now, that the world is so noisy that you have to have the skill set and know the rules of communication to distract, dispute, and inspire, to distract people from their current story. And as you present it, using the techniques and strategies that I teach them, they dismantle their current belief system and inspire them to have the courage to turn the page and create a new chapter in their lives. And so if they've got the coaching, like there's a basketball game tonight, the coaching is going to be very important on how those guys come out the locker room and decide how they're going to show up. So I was coachable. Most people are not coachable. Most people are failing because they don't know that they don't know and they think they know. But what's very important to me, not only effective communication skills, but what's important that I was impressed when I saw your video and I've been listening to the stories, because I don't go anywhere without doing my research. Your character. T.D. Jakes has a saying, Lord, don't let my talents take me where my character can't keep me. And so you aligned yourself with some people who have similar values. A lot of people talk about making money. 85% of the people who win the lottery lose it. And so, but having the kind of character, discipline, Socrates said, the undisciplined life is an insane life. To put in the time, the effort to study, to read. I disciplined myself to read, to study the various industries. I'll never forget, I spoke for Procter & Gamble. And when I spoke for them, there was another convention going on. And it's a pharmaceutical company. And so someone from that company saw me and said, can you come speak to our group too? And the reason they did is because of how I custom design my presentation. When I work with speakers, I teach them, never let what you want to say get in the way of what your audience needs to hear. And all that get understanding. And so the majority of speakers, they go around with a memorized script that they drop on an audience. And they see the audience as a transaction. I see the audience as candidates for transformation. And my goal is to give them the tools that allow them to manifest that new vision that they see of themselves. When I was coming along, you're too young to know this, but there was a comedian, Flip Wilson, who said, what you see is what you get. You know? Okay. You ever used to talk about Killer? Killer Mike was not the first killer, okay? And so that the reason that people are challenged now, we're going through a crisis Crises in the Chinese language means danger, but it also means opportunity. In the 19th century, there were 1,000 millionaires. In the 2020th century, 2000, the beginning of the 2000th century, it's over 10 million. What has changed? The expansion of our minds, our information, our skills, and people getting together to do what you and your partners have done, to create something that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered the heart of mankind what God has in store for you. And so I believe that this is an incredible time to be alive. More millionaires will be created in this time frame than any other time in history because of the adversity. I brought something I want you to look at. Where's this? And the reason I brought this here, Walt Disney had a nervous breakdown because his business partners stole his idea, his cartoon, Oswald. This is Oswald, the friendly rabbit. Now keep in mind, on the other side of adversity, that gives birth to tremendous opportunity to create something better. Universal Studios said, hey, you made that while you were working for us. We own it. They took it from him. He focused on, I got to do something else. That gave birth to Mickey Mouse, the happiest symbol in the world. Okay? So Marion White said that in life, when we don't have enough vision and courage to know that we have outgrown a situation and it's time to move on, life will move on us. 300 million people are going to lose their jobs because of artificial intelligence. But I say 300 million people are going to be freed up to become entrepreneurs so they can live their dreams rather than their fears. Yes.
One more question that's just connected to it has been obvious for now decades, the breadth of knowledge. You have to be a furious consumer of all types of information. Would you agree that that is becoming a lost art? Or do you see, I don't see folks doing what you're able to do.
People who don't do what I do have skinny children. You've got to be willing to learn. I mean, just think about this. When you look at how things are now, the things that we know now, if you go to college, within a year, everything you've learned is obsolete and you're in debt. Thousands of dollars you've spent, okay? So when you look at where we are right now, you can learn anything. People are getting degrees online. Frederick Douglass was beaten within an inch of his life because when the slave master came home and saw his wife teaching him how to read, he took him out in the backyard, tied his hands on a fence, and beat him with a whip. And the wife saying, why are you doing this to him? And Frederick Douglass had crawled under the house and heard the slave master say to his wife, don't ever teach a slave to read, because once he learns how to read, he'll never be happy being a slave.
Let's talk about the book.
Yes.
This isn't your first go around the publishing. Why this book right now?
Why this book?
Why this book? Why this time?
Because in order for us to make it in a culture where we have been considered less than, in order for us to make it in a culture for several centuries that we were considered 3/4 human, this culture where there were laws that said a black man has no rights in which a white man has to respect, in this culture, with systems and structures that are put in place to prevent you from making it, in order to do it, those who went before us and those who are now breaking through, you got to be hungry. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry know you will fail your way to success. People that are hungry are relentless and unstoppable, and they're willing to do what it takes in order to get what they want. They won't settle for the things as they are now. People that are hungry, they know their vitamin. They have blood in their eyes. The reason that Claudio is from Brazil, and this young man who's here, he rode in the back of a truck with several other people for 23 hours with a hunger for a better life for his mother, for his brother, for his sister. And against all odds, he was able to get here. Here, couldn't speak the language, didn't know the culture. And within 8 months, he had his own business. Statistics indicate that the average immigrant have a 3 to 4 times greater chance of buying a home, having their own business before the average American. Why? Because they're hungry. Just think about this. Alonzo Herndon, his parents, they were slaves. He was a slave. And then they became sharecroppers. But he had an ambition. He wanted more. And he trained himself how to cut hair. And he had high standards, just like you and your partners. So he had a barbershop that was called the Crystal Palace. He had chandeliers in a barbershop. All the barbers were black, but because it was so high quality that white people, the power structure, the politicians, wealthy people came there to get their haircuts, all right? Because of racism during that time, he couldn't get a haircut in his own barbershop. Now, I speak all over the world. I probably get, this is the second event to a black audience that I've spoken to. Tavis Smiley invited me, and you invited me. In my career, listen to me. In my career, this is the third interview that I've had by an African American. In my career, I have no speaking engagements being invited to speak to African Americans. None. Oh, don't applaud that. But they hire comedians. They pay money for entertainers. And so just think about this. I've been doing this for 52 years. All right? And so when you think about that, why? Is that we've been conditioned to buy into entertainment as opposed to things that can empower us. Your vision, just think about this. Your vision for this place was not where people can just come and gather and be entertained. You wanted to have a place that people can engage in a process that will decrease the level of their unconscious self-hatred, to increase their sense of deservingness and have a sense of mission and purpose and direction with their lives. And God asked Adam, Adam, where are you? That was not a position question. You want to know, where are you in terms of your thinking? Life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. Everybody here, you and I, we were chosen out of 400 million sperm. You have something, you have something, you have something, you have something that was not here before we showed up. We were not sent here to be groomed to get a job. We were deployed because you are a piece of the master. You're a masterpiece. There's something in you that when you don't show up, the world suffers.
I can't ask any more questions after that.
Don't come for me. I didn't call an Uber.
What are you supposed to say after that? I'm going to transition to questions from the audience. There are 2 mics here. Please tell us who you are and ask your question. Again, you can find them by the 2 pillars here. Don't be shy. This is family business, y'all. Please don't be shy. Come on. This can be.
Hi, good evening. Oops, sorry. So thank you to the Gathering Spot for having this event, and thank you to Mr. Les Brown for just pouring into our spirits. Well, I'm listening to you speak and recognizing the wisdom that you've acquired throughout the years. I know that you've had to face quite a few adversities, and I guess my question is, how did you keep showing up and choosing yourself over and over and over again?
Dr. Alfred Golson, who's since passed, who's just a brilliant brother, is an oncologist. And I'll never forget the moment when he looked at me and said, Mr. Brown, you have 4th stage cancer. And I asked, is there anything else? He said, it's metastasized to 7 areas of the body. I said, wow. He asked me, why are you smiling? I said, man, 7 is my lucky number. I said, I'm one of 7 children. I was born February the 17th. Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Naaman dipped himself in the river Jordan 7 times. I asked him, is there anything else? He said, yes. And I said, what? He said, and you're ugly too. I said, man, this is serious. Why would you say that? He said, I never tell my patients they're terminally ill. What I say is that my knowledge and my skill set has terminated. I determine the diagnosis. You determine the prognosis. A diagnosis is not a verdict. I carry that over in my life. If I have a setback, if somebody had rejected me, if I have some failures, and I have my share, I see it as a setup for a comeback. We all have comeback power. Everybody here has overcome something. That's why Viktor Frankl said that adversity introduces you to yourself, that things are going to happen to us or the people that we care about. And we have the opportunity to make a decision. We make a decision, and our decisions make us. If you decide to make a decision because something happened, because what you were working on didn't happen when you wanted to work on, and you ran out of money, or you didn't get the support that you thought you would get, and you stop, then you've decided, I'm willing to settle for a life of mediocrity. Yeah. But you can also make a decision, as Walt Disney did, who had 2 nervous breakdowns and filed bankruptcy 7 times and said, this is not going to stop me. He filed a lawsuit. He said to his family, even after my death, I want Oswald back. They won the lawsuit 2 years ago, and he's been gone for over 40 years. So when you make a decision, even a broke clock is right twice a day, that you are not going to quit, that you're going to continue to move forward, that you're going to find a way to win. Life lines up on your side, and things happen for you. You attract the resources, the people, everything you need in order to make it happen. But you've got to make the decision. You've got to give God something to work with. If you do what is easy, quit, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy.
Fast forward to junior high, you came to speak to one of our schools. And at that time, I'm gonna get choked up, sorry, but at that time, you had said, never let anybody tell you.
Yeah, never let somebody's opinion determine your reality.
And that burned in my heart from the time I was that age. And I walked this path, you know, that my friends didn't walk. I wore suits to school, I had satchels. I just walked different and I carried myself different. But somewhere along the way, life be lifing, right?
Yes.
And I used to watch people like you and Les Brown as a little kid on Channel 8, and all these different people who became my mentors later, Joe Madison. I used to listen to Farrakhan and all these different people and just soak up all this knowledge. But somewhere along the way, I lost a little bit of myself. And lately I've been going through this season where I've been down. And my wife said, hey, Les is coming into town. I said, what? I said, man, I haven't seen Les since I was 12 years old, I guess, something like that. I'm tired, I don't feel good today, but I'm gonna make it. Because today, that flame that got turned down to low, man, I'm so ignited right now inside that it's hard for me to put everything into words. So I want to say thank you to Ryan. I want to say thank you to Les. Thank you to my wife for bringing me out tonight and saying push yourself forward, because I believe that starting today, my season is changing.
Come on now, that's what we talk about. Yes, 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 yes. We have the power to determine that. We have the power. This is the God moment. Give me a hug. Thank you so much.